I was looking at your Instagram and I'm like, it doesn't look like you've been doing it that long, these diner reviews. But it
No.
looks like there's quite an appetite for
Yeah,
it.
this is a very recent development. You know,
Okay.
I started this 3 months ago.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In fact, like
Yeah.
very recent. But I guess before you go into that, just give us a little background. You're from Troy, and I mean, what are you, mid 20s, late 20s?
Yeah, I'm 28 years old. I'm
28,
from
okay.
Troy, North Troy, so Lansingburg,
Yeah.
which is like a town in Troy. And then I moved out of Troy, lived in Tampa Bay, like St. Petersburg,
Not
Florida.
a beautiful area.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful area. Lived down there for 4 years and grew up wrestling. So
Okay.
I took kind of my combative experience and went down there and started training boxing.
Really?
And, yeah, I fought in
So
boxing.
that's what brought you down there to train?
No, what brought me down there was probably the beaches and the nice weather.
The fact that it's Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Sweet.
running away from the winters of upstate. But yeah, I was just working down there, training. And it was actually when I was in Florida that I developed an appreciation for diners, believe it or not.
Okay. So growing up, this wasn't like,
It's like you go to a diner here and there with your parents, or maybe your lacrosse team, you'd go
Yeah.
or something, but it was like an occasional thing. And then I went down there and I was like, there's no diners in.
oh, so the lack of diners.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I was like, it's a Sunday morning. You've had a long weekend. You're like, I just want to go hang out at a diner, and there's nowhere to go.
Yeah. In lieu of diners, what was breakfast down there? I mean, they'd have like brunch spots? Like what?
Yeah, brunch spots.
Is it kind of like the new hip, I think of Austin, when I lived in Austin, it was like very much, brunchy type spots. There was classic diners,
Yeah.
a few of them, but like a lot of them were converting to, hey, get your breakfast sandwich with a mimosa, and it's like $25.
Yeah.
It's like, it was like, all right, you're trying to be something. I just want to go have a diner type breakfast.
Exactly. Yeah, there's like First Watch down there.
Yeah,
and
it's popular
which is
in
like
Austin too. Yeah.
it's like a brunch, like mimosa thing. But yeah, you couldn't go and get like a cheap,
Yeah.
$10 breakfast,
Yeah.
So it was down there where I started like going to like searching for diners. And then I never even thought about making a video until like 4 months ago.
Were you ever like, I got to start a diner down here?
Ooh, no.
No, that never
No,
crossed your
no,
mind.
no.
Not the entrepreneurial streak.
I don't belong in a kitchen cooking for other people. There's just no way I belong doing that.
you just want to enjoy it.
I just want to enjoy it, yeah, and travel around. And I'm a coffee guy too, ultimately.
Yeah. Big black coffee, right?
Big black coffee. I brought you guys a bag too.
Oh, awesome.
Set that up over there. You guys try
Appreciate
that out.
it. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. So you're down in St. Pete, Tampa area. Decide to come back to the nice Four Seasons up here. That's kind of what I did. You notice the lack of diners. Obviously, that's quite a jump to start reviewing them. The first one, at least I see on your page, it looks like you've been doing it for years. So like what kind of sparked your, like, hey, I'm going to give this a try just to see how it does. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so a buddy of mine, Dan Burns, and I were going to diners, and we would kind of just begin to like compare it amongst ourselves. And we had like this little spreadsheet we were creating, but we never really did anything about it. And then my girlfriend and I started to go to diners, and she knows how to film and edit videos.
Okay.
And we're sitting there and we're just laughing at a diner. And this is, the fourth diner we've been to in 2 weeks. And I was like, you know what? You know how to film and edit and make some videos. And I just gave her my phone, and I was like, just hit record. And I just kind of started talking and figuring it out. And then we recorded 3 diner reviews, diner series. They're not really reviews, they're more like spotlights.
Yeah.
We recorded 3, and the first 2 were like wonky. I like said something weird. I like did,
You can edit.
Yeah, I was like, So we didn't post those. And then the third one, I was like, all right, cool. This is pretty solid. Let's post it. And then we posted it. And the second video we ever posted did like over 500,000 views.
Wow.
The second video. So then I was like, okay, I guess we're doing this.
Was that just such a shock that you're like, holy cow, it's my second video
Yeah.
that we put out and I got 500,000 views? I think I'm onto something.
I think I'm onto something. And I wasn't on social media 6 months ago. Like I'm like anti-phone, anti-social media. And I had the accounts, but I just had it off of my phone.
Yeah, you just weren't active.
And then my girlfriend was like, you should get on Instagram and stuff. So, cause she posts photos of me, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then a month later, I started posting the diner reviews. So full, like total 180.
How did you get voted to be the kind of spokesperson for it all? Between you and your girlfriend or your buddy? What?
Oh, that's interesting. I guess I just nominated myself.
Yeah, you're just like, I'm going to do it. Well, she had, I guess, the filming experience, and she knew how to put them together.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like to talk and, be on camera. So I'm like, let's just do it. Let's just go for it. And, sometimes when you post content, I'm sure you can relate to this. there's a lot of hesitancy because you might say something silly or look kind of dumb, or someone in the comments might do something. It's scary, like posting content
Yeah.
of your face, right? Especially when you're talking. But I was like, life's short. We're just gonna start posting content and just say the heck with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good approach because at the end of the day, yes, you're going to get people who are bashing it sometimes, or you think you look like an idiot, but no one else notices. Or like if you have a slip up, every time I listen to a podcast, I try to listen to them just so I can improve. Also, I want to re-listen, pull some good clips, but I'll like say something that'll make me cringe, but then no one would ever notice it but me. So like, I'm sure it's the same thing when you create videos.
100%. And you just got to roll with it. So I try not to even rewatch my videos because it's like so cringe to hear yourself talk and right to be on film. Right?
Honey, take it. Yeah, put it out. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also a good approach that you're not too active on it anyway, so you don't overthink it. You're just like, all right, go ahead, put it on. We'll do another one next week or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Kind of an overnight success in a way, or it went viral overnight after 2 reviews. You're like, all right, we're gonna keep doing this. Were you like, I'm gonna try to do once a week? How'd you guys come up with a plan to like, all right, let's capitalize on this momentum and see where it goes?
Yeah. So the first plan was to only do one a week because I'm like, you can only eat so many pancakes. And then it's like, what do you do? And then after the second or third one, I was like, okay, we're actually going to up the frequency of these. So we started to do 3 a week.
Okay.
And now I'm at the point where I have consistent content and a decent following. So I'm slowing it back down to like 1 to 2 a week. So I'm trying to focus more on which diners we go to and then which guests we bring on too. So I'm starting to bring on different people and different guests to come and sit at the diner with me and hang out. So I'm a little bit more focused on the quality of content than I am the quantity.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes if you get like a great shoot, right? Obviously you have a great initial video. I just think of what we do here. You could potentially like post the initial video and then maybe like a throwback later of like, oh, remember we did this. This was delicious. Just so you can get more out of one film session. We always do throwback clips of the podcast. Like they might have had, some have 10 great clips. It's like we could only pick one from when we release it. But, in a few months, we'll put it back out. They can put it out again, right? The diners, I'm sure, if they have a social media, they'll put it out for you again. Just things like that that you don't have to sit there and eat at a diner every morning.
Yeah, you make the most out of like the one trip. And I'm learning how to do that. This is all still pretty new to me as far as like creating media and stuff. So I'm learning some of those smaller things.
I asked my wife, I was like, you have any good questions? And she's like, ask him how he's not huge. I was like, well, if you're only eating, once, twice a week, I mean, obviously you're sure still doing a little boxing and whatnot, right?
Yeah, I work out quite a bit. I like to lift weights. I like to run. I still box, recreationally. And then also when I'm not at a diner, I try to keep a pretty clean diet.
Yeah, that was one thing I wanted to talk to you about is, do you ever inquire like what the ingredients are they're using? Obviously, what you can see with your eyes is one thing, but like, that's one thing, like we don't eat at diners a ton, and not diners specifically, but we don't eat out a ton. And a lot of it is like, you just don't know, seed oils. There's just so many things like, what type of beef they're using. We try to eat pretty clean. Don't get me wrong. Every once in a while, like whatever, yeah, we'll go out. It doesn't matter. But if someone were to be like, yeah, we use avocado oil when we cook, or we have, pasture raised eggs or pasture raised pork, like then it'd be like, oh, I'd be more of a staple because it's like, it's kind of what I'm eating at home, where it's hard probably, especially if you're trying to eat clean and then you have to go back to these diners. I'm just wondering, do you ever inquire about that?
Oh, I mean, dude, I am losing years of my life doing this. Like, make no mistake about it. This is not good for my health.
You just look at the plate and you're like, oh God.
It's like, who knows what's in it? I don't typically ask. And yes, it would be best if it's like, not made with seed oils and perhaps cooked in butter instead, or locally sourced, whatever. But if you look at my videos, the way I approach them is I order whatever they tell me to order.
Which you got to, right?
I got it.
What are you known for? I mean, that's what everywhere I go, what should I get? I was like, what do people come here to get? That's my one question.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, I could go in and order the same thing every time, but you don't get to actually experience the diner. So I do run a risk. And sometimes I do end up with food on my table that I probably would not have ordered if it was up to me. But luckily, I'm not a picky eater. So we get after it.
Today's episode of Upstate Impact is brought to you by Renewal by Anderson of Central New York. Summer's here, and it's the perfect time to upgrade your windows. With Renewal by Anderson's exclusive Fibrex material and expert installation, you'll get a cooler, more energy efficient home that looks as good as it feels. Click the link in our show notes to schedule your free quote today. Renewal by Anderson, superior products, exceptional service. Now that you have a following, are they pretty good about, like, do you usually pay for it, or do they usually comp it, or is it, Anthony was saying it's kind of half and half from Eat Local New York with him?
It is about half and half.
Yeah.
It depends on where. If I'm in the capital region where I'm from and I have a little bit more of a
More clout.
a little bit more clout, I guess. Yeah, the meals will be covered, all $12 of it. But out in like central New York and western New York, it's kind of like 50-50. It totally depends. And usually I don't even call and ask.
I was just going to say, do you give them a heads up? No?
Nah, sometimes I do, but it's pretty relaxed. It's not like I'm putting a camera in people's faces.
Okay.
So I'm just like showing up. I do my thing outside. I record the food a little bit inside of the diner, and then I do my thing outside again. So it's not too invasive on the people eating or anything.
Seems like you're starting to get recognized for some of the videos I've watched.
Yeah.
The people kind of point you out, like, oh, you do the reviews.
Yeah, they do. And they don't know my name, so they call me Another Day, Another Diner. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm getting called that. But yeah, I only get recognized at diners. But yeah, a few people have like walked up, and somebody even like a few times asked to take a photo. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. I'm like I'm more excited than they are.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. Have you thought about expanding beyond diners? I mean, because clearly the content, people want the reviews of the diners, but like it's probably more a testament to what you and your little team do, as far as quality content, as you say, and that's what you're trying to refine now. Have you thought about expanding? I mean, obviously it's still new for you. You only been doing it a few months.
Thought about it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, my mind runs wild with ideas about where to take it. I think the growth path is going to be people coming on and hanging out at the diners, as I had mentioned, kind of like diner dialogue, more like an interview style in a diner booth. I think that's going to be the growth. But I've considered like Another Day, Another Cafe, where it's kind of a spinoff. Somebody else does it, and they're going and reviewing cafes. Another Day, Another Deli. You get some guy who likes going to delis.
Yeah.
Another Day, Another Beer, if you know craft beer, and kind of doing those spinoffs. So for me, I think I'm going to stick to the diners just because it's good. It's all good,
Smart. Trying to figure out ways to like kind of scale it, or like I mentioned, we had Anthony Tringle on here, who's Eat Local New York. And he's like, a mistake I made is that I am every video for the first however long he was doing it. So like, he introduced someone else and people are like, who the hell's this guy? And like people didn't like it. And he's like, even if it's not my face, I don't get the views. So if you could figure out a way, that way you don't have to eat, at the diner, at a restaurant, at a brewery every time, right? If you can have other ways or other people involved, so you can kind of grow it without it taking your time and you having to maybe eat out every single meal.
100%. And you just got to find someone who's kind of willing to do that, And at the end of the day, I'm like, the whole reason I started this is I was going to these diners, and the only people that are in it are like old people or no people, And I'm like, man, the people who go and support these diners are like, fading away. They're like, there's no generation of diner enthusiasts that we have in our age group. So I'm like, these diners and restaurants are going to start closing if we don't get people to come to these diners. So I was like, how do I do that? Well, I'll post on social media. I'll try to get people, 18 to 35 to go in and support local rather than going to the chain restaurants, to the corporations, to the commercial stuff. It's like, go and support, a local business right down the street.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very cool part of what you do is you're promoting these small kind of mom and pop diners, right? And putting them on a platform where they can get thousands of views of what they do best, right? You're asking, hey, you get me what you do best, I'll eat it and we'll put it out.
Yeah.
But it's also shocking that on your second video, you had over 500,000 views. Like you're saying on one end, there's no one at these places or, an older generation, but clearly people are interested in it. Why do you think that is?
That's a really good question. I think for the last 5 or 6 years, social media has been all about like things being really nice, like the newest stuff, the nicest stuff, the freshest stuff.
Like the keeping up with the Joneses.
Keeping up with the Joneses. But nowadays, everyone's going to thrift stores and they're buying used clothes and they're going to small cafes. And I think the nostalgia of diners and thrift stores and like small kind of like grungy places, I think that's really coming back around. And people like the authenticity of it, is that it's nothing fancy, but it's sure not fake either. And I think people are more drawn to that because they're over the keeping up with the Joneses side of things. So I think the timing of it was also really good.
Yeah, it's like exhausting. Like, oh, I have to go to Turks and Caicos and eat at this resort, and it's like, no, like what? I have a Saturday morning. I'm gonna go check out this diner that Pat went to, and like we're gonna have an awesome time. Because a lot of times, like all that stuff you see on social media, like it doesn't make you any happier. What are little things you can do? I think about I have young kids. I'm like, we're not really traveling that much. We're not doing much. Like it's just the little things. And for example, sitting in a diner, right? If they got good food, you bring a guest on, or you go with some friends, you can have just as good of a time there as anywhere.
Exactly. And I listened to the podcast you had. It was the financial one. Was it
Pat
Patrick
Rowe?
Rowe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to that one, and I love, finances and, kind of pinching a penny where I can. It's like diners are $12 and you're going to get like some really good food. Or you can go out, to your point, get a mimosa, a little breakfast sandwich, you're dropping $35, $40,
Just to have like a more hip vibe, where it's like at the end of the day, it's kind of who you're with, right? For the experience.
100%.
And as long as the food's good and, good service, then you're golden.
And there's some interesting people that hang out in diners too.
It's different, right?
Different.
It's a different, yeah. I mean, and that's what makes it fun too. You have any good stories with like interesting people?
Oh man, people are like, oh, what's like the craziest thing you've seen in a diner? And it's always the people. If you go up and you sit at the countertop of a diner, I guarantee there's going to be a guy to your left or to your right that will tell you his whole life story.
Yeah,
I guarantee you. And it's nice to hear, but it's also 45 minutes of your time. So you have to like really balance that,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some like interactions that are a bit unique that I have, but everybody's just so nice and cool, and they love that I'm coming in there to.
I was just gonna say, is it ever like, what the heck is this guy doing with a camera? Like you said, it's not too invasive, but
It's not too invasive, but I have like a tripod sometimes when Kayla, my girlfriend's, not with me. And you walk into a
you're
diner.
like a selfie stick.
Oh
in it.
yeah. And they will look at you like you have, 6 heads, So I get some funny looks, but it's all good. Once I just say I'm here to spotlight the diner, the guard kind of comes down, and
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah, they
chill.
probably think it's cool. I think everyone understands that. How many diners have you eaten at in the last, you've been doing it for a few months? Like 25, 30?
I think 40 to 45. 40 to 45 diners in the last 3 months. So maybe a little bit more, because I go to diners and just don't film too. So I also just do
So
that.
you do have room to do a few more, right? If you're
Yeah.
still. So you've probably learned what you like and what you don't like. Talk about that. Like, what do you think makes a good diner?
Yeah, I think a lot of the places that are super busy, although it's awesome that they're busy, I think part of the benefit of a diner is you can go and hang out and kind of slow roll things and have like a conversation with someone. So I don't like to be rushed when I go and sit down. I don't want to feel like I have to eat and kind of get out. I like to hang out, have an extra cup of coffee. As you had mentioned, it's all based on who you're with. And I like just to talk and hang out with whoever's at the diner with me. So as far as things I like and don't like, I definitely would prefer to not feel rushed when I go to these diners.
I agree with that. I mean, even when you go out to dinner, sometimes you feel like, the check's on your table. You're like, oh, yeah, whoa. And they're like, oh, no rush. It's like, yeah, well, I understand. They're trying to get people in. They're trying to turn people over. But sometimes when you're having a good time, you just want to hang out.
Exactly.
Right? And like you said, have another cup of coffee, have another beer, whatever it is. But what about like food wise? Like, or just like set up like, some, even something simple as, all right, they drop the check, you go up to the counter and pay. Like, is there anything that like comes to mind where you're like, I feel like, people or the diners who do this are on the right track?
The cash only, I'm an advocate for. A lot
that.
of people don't like the cash only.
A discount too, usually.
I love the cash only. So if it's cash only, that's like an instant, let's go.
Yeah.
Good for them. And I never have cash on me. And it's always an inconvenience, by the way, for me. Like today, I
The
went
$4 ATM out front.
Oh, yeah. And on ATM fees. And even today, I went to Mother's Cupboard in Syracuse.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
I have not.
Okay.
I've heard.
Okay.
It's delicious.
Cash only. And
Where exactly is it?
I don't
You're
know.
not from the area. So
I'm not from the area. It's close.
I know it's in
Yeah.
Syracuse, and I've heard a ton about it. I just like I said, I haven't gone to a bunch. I'm on the west side. It's not on the west side. That's why I just probably haven't been there. But
What's your go-to diner?
like I said, I haven't been to a ton of diners, especially, when you got 3 kids under 4, it's kind of like,
Oh my god, you have
it's,
3 kids under 4?
yeah,
Oh,
well,
wow.
4.5 and is the oldest, but it's just hard to sit anywhere and eat.
Yeah.
But, they're right down the street from my house is Nestico's too. I don't know if you've been there. It's kind of a smaller diner. And there's a couple other good ones popping up, like Finally Ours, somewhat close to us. And then a guy I went to high school with, Ed, drawing a blank on the name of it, but they just opened up where Good Buddy's Pub was, and they've expanded. It looks like they're doing awesome. And so I'll definitely check that place out. Second chance.
Oh, second chance. Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, so they just opened a new spot. It's great. It's right on West Genesee Street. Every time I drive by and it's like diner hours, it's like mobbed. I'm like, partially because they just moved down the street, but I'm like, they're clearly doing something right. But Nesco's has just been there forever, and they just quality job. It's quick. Food's quick, right? So you order it and it's out there, but they're not. No one's in a rush there, and you kind of just hang out. And after this, it makes me kind of want to sit down at a diner a little more and have some good conversation.
You got to do it. I've been to a lot of diners now, and the one thing that a lot of diners used to be, but are not anymore, is 24 hours.
Yeah, you used to. Yeah, exactly.
They used to be 24-hour diners.
A lot of places. I mean, COVID. Unfortunately, I feel like like Wegmans used to be 24 hours. I remember we used to go like post bar to Wegmans. Not anymore.
That's great. I didn't know that. That's crazy. I did not know that. Isn't that a grocery store?
Yeah, but they have a bunch of prepared food there. So if
wow.
everything else is closed, you go to Wegmans and go get some food.
Seems a little risky keeping that open 24 hours.
I know, big place, right? And hence why they probably don't do that.
Yeah, probably don't do it.
But is there a lot of 24-hour diners?
I've been to 45 diners roughly, and one of them was 24 hours. It was Bob's Diner in Watervliet, New York.
Okay.
Bob's Diner in Watervliet, and it's been 24 hours, 365 for however many years they've been open. I think like 40 years or something like that. And I've been there late at night too, and I've been there early in the morning, and it's fun to go late at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit more for the experience.
Is there ever a crossover? Someone's early morning and someone's late night?
Yeah, go like 5 a.m. and you might get maybe 4 or 5 a.m. You get like the
I always had an appreciation for places like Coleman's, a bar on Tip Hill over here. I used to live on Tip Hill, and one time it was like a Monday night, and we were there way later than we should have been. It was like 1:40. We walk in, and it's open. There's no one in there, and bartender's like, what do you want? And I'm like, you guys are still up. I'm like, why don't you close? There's no one in here. And he's like, we stay open till 2:00 every night, just in case someone needs a beer at 1:40. Like, we didn't need a beer, but like if someone, comes in.
Need
Yeah,
a beer.
exactly. Where like a lot of places, right? No one's there. They're going to close, especially early week. But, it's cool when people are like, all right, we're going to do 24 hours all the time. If you want to come get a meal, we're open.
I love that. Yeah, that kind of energy I appreciate. It's like that makes you want to go and support them at those hours just because they do that.
It's got to be tough, though.
It's got to be tough.
I mean, how do you even staff that? Like, you got the night, because you got, one cook, one, waiter, waitress. I mean, that's...
Laying the lights, and it's like there's no way you're profiting.
That's what I mean, like, for a lot of those hours.
Say you sell 4 beers in an hour on a Wednesday. That's not covering. No. Yeah. But don't tell them that. Let them stay open.
Yeah. Well, it's appreciated nonetheless.
Yeah.
So... where do you see this going? I mean, it's still so early. Obviously you talked about how you kind of want to see it going, but like, let's say we have you back on in like 3 years. What would be best case scenario?
There's a few things I see in the future. I think a documentary style series about the history of diners in the U.S.
Yeah, not to cut you off, but I noticed, it's not just Albany area where you're from. Not just upstate. I mean, you've been in Pennsylvania, you've been in Rhode Island, like, you're starting to go northeast with it.
Yeah.
You're just trying to hit any and all?
Yeah, if you're a diner, I'm coming for you. But yeah, I think the goal is a tour of the U.S. and basically tell the story about the history of diners in the United States, because diners are very specific to U.S. culture. It happened but really post World War II, where a lot of these dining cars started to pop up, and it's unique to American culture. And I've had multiple different people from other countries message me being like, man, I love your videos. I've always wanted to go to an American diner. That's so cool. And I was like, wow. And it really just made me realize that these other countries don't have the diner scene that we have. So the the answer to your question is, where do I see this in 3 years? I think in 1 year, but I think
Yeah.
a documentary style series where I tour the U.S., 50 diners, 50 states in 50 days, and we just get after it and film the stories.
That'd be pretty sweet. So you do like, where you are, also the travel to all these places. Like that'd be pretty fun.
And just interview local people too.
Yeah.
Like the people who are coming to the diners, the regulars, the wait staff, maybe somebody who's, the owner of the diner or whatever it is.
Now that you're saying that, I just never thought about it, that diners are kind of unique to the US. And you said they start as like a cart. Is that why you kind of see them? They almost look like a, double wide mobile home-ish, like some of them. Is that like, when you say a cart, was it literally just like a small little, moving like trailer type thing?
So the first diners were dining cars that were taken from trains. So trains would have a dining car, and then it would take an old dining car, and that's why you see a lot of diners right next to a railroad,
Yeah.
is because they take these old dining cars, they'd place it next to the railroad, and they start to just pop up and do quick food fast for people traveling by train. And then they became mobile. They put them on wheels and started moving them. And then in like the 40s and 50s, they started mass producing these dining cars, which is like the Sterling dining car, which is probably what you're kind of alluding to.
Yeah, envisioning.
It all stems from like actual dining cars within trains.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's cool that you got people overseas reaching out, being like, that's so cool, like
Yeah.
diners. And you're like, oh, yeah, I guess it is, and that's why you're doing it. Just when you don't have that experience, right, you look at it like, oh, that's sweet. Like I used to coach lacrosse in Texas, and I remember giving lessons to these young kids. And in Texas, they build houses on slabs. They don't have basements. And we're just talking, as we're doing drills. And I was like, yeah, we used to always hang out in my basement. All my friends come over. They're like, oh, you have a basement? That's so cool. I wish I had a basement. I'm like, yeah, it is cool. Like
Basements
we have
are cool.
Yeah. But it's like when you don't have it, right? It makes it that much, more enticing. And so, yeah, not that they're mostly US based. I'm sure you get quite a following overseas, especially as it starts to take off, especially if there's some sort of documentary like that. That'd be very interesting to everyone.
That's the goal. And there's a few diners in Canada and in other places, but it stems from the US. So yeah, I kind of want to tell that story. And even the series that I have now, I try to focus more on the history of the diner and how long it's been around and whether or not it's cash only, who owns it, is it a family? Has it always been at this location? I'm more interested in the story of the diner than I am the food. I could love the home fries. You could hate them. It's all subjective. But the story, I can actually communicate that a little bit more clearly.
So you don't like review something like, oh, this was gross, I'm not going to review it.
Nah. I basically do, is it diner certified? If it's diner
Is
certified.
that your certification? Like
That
what
is
you just kind of went through right there?
Yeah.
What's your cutoff? Like what makes it a chain? Right? If there's one on the east side and one on the west side of Syracuse, so that's not really a chain, right? Or do you, like, if there's numerous of them, like what's your personal cutoff of like, too big, I'm not doing it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would think 3. What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell, right? Is it family owned? Like
Yeah.
there's the Denny's and the Waffle Houses that you're probably not doing, right?
I'm going to do one.
You're going to do one?
I'm going to do a Denny's.
Oh, okay. Well, when you were talking about 24 hours, Denny's, I think used to be 24 hours.
Denny's
right?
is 24 hours. And that place
is it still?
I don't know if it is, but it's not diner certified. I can tell you that.
It just closed. There's one, a long time one over in Camillus, and it just closed. I'm like, man, just from it being right there by the high school for so long, I found myself at that place quite a bit, especially when I was younger.
I would think more than, I think 3 or more is like a chain. Would you agree with that? Or?
Yeah, but I think you're on the right track when you look into the story of it, right? If it's a chain, but like, maybe just in Syracuse, right? Like, all right, is it in 5 cities or is it in just Syracuse? Like, First Watch, like it's pretty good. I've been there.
Really good.
But they're starting to pop up more and more. I think at this point, they're probably considered more of a chain. But at one point, I'm sure it was just, because they're in all these different cities. If you're just maybe Rochester, Syracuse, right, that can still be family owned and they just wanted to scale up a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe if it's like within the same state. Do you guys have Stewart's shops out this way?
We just got one in Marcellus.
Have you been?
In the village? I mean, I've been to Stewart's a bunch. I go up to Lake Placid every year for a lacrosse tournament. And so we're stopping at like 2 Stewart's on the way up, 2 Stewart's on the way back usually. So I've been, but it's not that popular. It's the only one I know of in the area. Why, you a fan?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Stewart's fan. Yeah.
Of
mean,
what?
Upstate. I mean, the coffee, the vibe. It's just, it's like a staple,
One time we're driving up to Lake Placid and we walk in. They're like, yeah, it's Is Stewart the last name or the first name? Do you know of
Uh,
whoever started it?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
It
it's
was
the
like
middle.
his wife's birthday. They're like, yeah, so everyone gets a free ice cream cone. We're like, sweet. So we all got ice cream cones.
Oh, no
I'm like,
way.
I like this place.
Yeah, the place isn't bad.
This place is cool. And their ice cream is really good.
Here, can I ask you a question about this? This is it's like Central New York focused, right? Like why'd you start this podcast exactly? Like Upstate Impact. What's the mission behind it?
Kind of similar to your mission in, in a loose way, right? Like I said, I did a lacrosse podcast, Lacrosse Recruiting 101, enjoyed it, but it was pretty narrow, right? Talking to coaches about the recruiting process. They all had their different nuances, but it was a lot of it was similar. So I knew I wanted to expand just whoever I talked to. I want to talk to just interesting people doing all different things. And I was like, it took me about a year or so. And I was like, there just seems to be a little, there's some people doing it, but like it's cool to promote people who are doing interesting things, especially when it's kind of local and, whether they're starting a business or, they're making the area better. And, I did Upstate because I was like, want to be able to talk to someone from Albany or, Rochester, wherever. And I just enjoy talking to people. And so I was like, I'm going to start this, see where it goes. Did a few on my own. I set up both cameras, set up the microphones, and those were great. I was doing it at a conference room where I work, and then all of a sudden, Andy, who I worked with before, and Eric reach out, and they're like, "Come do it at our studio." Best decision I've ever made here at Dime Studio. It was like when you have to set it all up, I'm like, "Is that camera on? Is that camera on? Are we recording?" You're worrying about everything, and now I just can focus on the conversation. So I think it's really not only increased the quality because it's such a better production, but also I can focus on the actual hosting of the podcast.
On the conversation, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. No, I think it's really cool what you guys are doing.
Yeah. And, we'll see where it goes. I asked you what your 3-year plan is. Like, I don't even know what the plan is for this. I just enjoy talking to people. And if people listen, that's great. Obviously, I think there's a demand. And I like, for example, you have a very specific thing you're doing right now, but like, you don't talk in this much depth, on any of your videos because that's not what you do. But it's cool, right? Especially someone who's following you can now like, oh, I'm going to listen to Pat. Like, oh, do you know Pat does this because of this, right? It just like gives more context to what people are doing. And I think that's a big part of, supporting, businesses or ventures.
That's awesome that you're doing that. And I think you hit the nail on the head with Upstate. Upstate New York is growing in popularity like crazy. Upstate now has way more of a popular reputation than it did 5, 7, 10 years ago. Like it's a lot of people are moving up from New York City to come to Upstate, to hang out, to get food, to go to the Saratoga racetrack, to go to Lake Placid, to all these beautiful places. So anyone who supports Upstate, it's like, I got to get behind that.
Yeah. And you had a similar experience. You moved down south for a while. I'm sure before you moved down, you're like, I can't wait to get to warmer weather because that's how I was. And then you're down there for a while and then you spent a couple summers down there and you're like, all right, you can't take more clothes off. Like in the winter here, you can put another jacket on to stay warm. You just get an appreciation for it, And then all of a sudden, I moved back, and I love being here. And I think that appreciation's coming around, right? The grass is always a little greener, but as you said, Upstate, I think is definitely growing, and it's pretty cool that I get to do something like this to have people on like you who help support it.
That's awesome, man. Well, good on you, dude.
Yeah. Well, Pat, dude, appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll be following you, and I think you're on to some pretty big things here. I think you could have even your own little podcast at a diner, having those cool conversations and whatnot. But I wish you the best of luck, and we'll be following. Definitely have you on again soon.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Sweet.